Hello everybody, welcome to another video. This is another video on the Power and Conflict collection. So this time we are looking at My Last Duchess. This is the next poem. If you are looking for the other poems that take place prior to this, that includes Ozymandias London, the prelude, you can check out the other videos that are also within this collection. Okay, so I'm looking to try and reduce the amount of minutes I spend on the analysis, so I'll try to move along a little bit quickly with this. So this poem is a little bit longer. As you can see, it's been split over the two splits here over the page, so you've got it in two separate sections there. Starting off with the left-hand side, that's My Last Duchess painted on the wall, so that's where it begins. So this is relatively long, with it being a dramatic monologue, so 56 lines. However, it's relatively simple as well in terms of what is taking place within the poem and what we can work out from perhaps the speaker as well. So it's about a duke, a royal title that one would have, and he is talking to a visitor and he's telling him about the portrait that there is there really within his home, and he's just talking about what is seen there. And it's within the portrait you can see a duchess or a lady, and that's his former wife, which he explains to the visitor. So he opens up and starts beginning to talk about the Duchess and perhaps how she was and so on. So as more or less the poem progresses, then we see him getting more and more agitated and angry, perhaps with his wife, his last Duchess, and we learn some things here which gives us strong causes for believing that he did have her killed. So some of the things that angered him was her behavior. So he felt that she was very friendly towards other people, and that was also bordering on flirtatious as well with a lot of men and those around. So these are some of the things that we can pick up, and as we learn more about him as well, as he speaks and opens up, we can get the idea that he's a very jealous individual and who had a lot of pride as well over many things. So for example, also viewing his wife, the last Duchess, as a item perhaps that would be possessed, and of course this is something that we can pick up, that he is very he has a lot of jealousy, and that boils over to other things as well. So he's really possessive of who he keeps within his company, close circles. Okay, so towards the end, as the Duke perhaps and the guest are ending their conversation, that we can learn that perhaps he did have something to do with her disappearance. There is no mention as to what happened to it exactly, but we can guess with some of the quotes as well. We'll go into those shortly. But we do find out towards the end, it's quite interesting that the visitor that comes to visit him is someone who is, we can say, matrimony maker. So someone who is going to try and arrange for his next wife. So that's something that's quite interesting. And the way he ends towards, or the way it ends with the Duke towards the end, telling us and giving the visitor more details in terms of what he wants, the specifics, and what he dislikes, and so on, really just reinforces the position of power that he is desperately keen to hold on to, and of course, the amount of jealousy really that he has, and therefore he wants someone that can really um, toe the line, for want of a better phrase. Okay, so have a look at some of the key quotes and then we'll move on from there. So you can see the key quotes there highlighted in red. So the right hand side may be a little bit smaller, so apologies for that. So starting off with the first line, that's my last Duchess painted on the wall. So the my possessive pronoun theirs is very interesting, and of course gives us the idea that, or lets us know very early on that he felt she is something that belonged to him. So my, and then the last Duchess as well. So if perhaps this was the only lady he was married to, then perhaps something like the Duchess may have been more fitting. But my last Duchess gives us the idea that there had been many more prior to the last Duchess. So that's something that's quite interesting. Gives us an idea he perhaps gets quite bored and perhaps also very possessive and feels that he can really just dispose of his wives as they are perhaps an item to be just possessed. So that's your first quote there. And then second one, a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad. And it continues there. So really any part of this that has been highlighted in red, I would say you could look to go with those. Something that I find quite easy to remember when I go back to this, perhaps after a while, is her looks went everywhere. So just something like that, even that portion there, I think that would be quite easy to remember. And of course, he's saying her looks went everywhere, where perhaps um, everyone could really get a glimpse of her, and perhaps she was also a bit too friendly with people, and perhaps he felt that she didn't behave like a duchess. Perhaps a duchess is someone in his eyes to be not there on sort of display and sort of accessible. So this is something that he didn't really like. Of course, it's not really much of an excuse to have someone murdered or even divorced them, but this tells us about the credible high standards that he has, and also his insecurities. And final quote, just towards the end, it sort of continues, taming a seahorse thought a rarity. So just a line before as well, notice Neptune. So we are seeing interesting words here being used with sort of the reference of Neptune there with the Roman god of the sea as well. So, and also describing himself there, so taming a seahorse. That's something um, which is quite interesting, giving the idea that he was there just really alone and trying to deal with this wild seahorse, and that was her really. And this is, of course, something that he was trying to avoid. So he wants perhaps someone who's going to be a lot more submissive and obedient, and perhaps behave in a way that he feels a duchess should behave. So those are some of the key quotes there, and yeah, just looking at the time, I was hoping to wrap it up sooner, but I guess it's taking a little bit longer. The other quotes I've got there in red, there's lots of really good ones actually within this poem. But this one, my gift of a 900 years old name. So this goes back towards his pride. He's very proud of his own name as well. Suggests that he felt he was doing her a massive favor by allowing her to become his wife. So really just reinforces that, and of course the power that he has as well. So the power perhaps is being given to him perhaps by his ancestors as well. And another key quote you could say is, "This screw I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together." So this is another hint that he had her killed. So I gave commands. So prior to that, he was talking about her smiling, much the same smile and so on. And then after that, then all smiles stopped together. So strong indications there really that she stopped smiling after the commands were given, the commands which seem to be to have her killed, or perhaps really sort of, or we could say, taken away from where he is living, but given that all smiles stop together, it does seem to be very permanent. Okay, so those are some points in relation to my last Duchess, and that's it for this video. Thank you very much for listening, I hope you found it useful, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you, take care, and bye for now.